Okay, so Maria, what would you like to focus on today?
Oh, I'd like to talk today about making myself heard at work.
Okay, what does making yourself heard mean to you?
So I found that during the pandemic, while we've been working online, I've been really reluctant to press the unmute button and make my voice heard. And I know that it's holding me back, so I'd really like to focus on that today.
Okay, so what's it holding you back from achieving?
Well, I work really hard and I know that I've got good ideas, but I don't share that with other people. So I feel like in a big organisation, I'm kind of invisible because I don't really say anything or contribute.
So you say you're feeling slightly invisible in the work environment since you're working online. And what would be the benefit of you of having greater visibility?
Well, if I want to get promoted, people need to know who I am. And yeah, so I'm good kind of talking like on a one-to-one basis, but people don't know who I am or what ideas, what value I'm bringing because I'm not sharing that in the context of a meeting.
Okay, so you talked about potentially getting promoted. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I've been working there for 5 years and I had a promotion about 3 years ago, and it's kind of time for me to be promoted again in terms of my sort of experience and you know, the results that I've had. But it is really competitive, and so I think when people come to make that decision, it would really make a difference if they had a bigger picture of who I was and you know and the ideas that I have and the impact that I can bring.
Okay, so looking to get a promotion up to the next level, what timescales are you looking at to make that happen?
Well, we've got our performance reviews coming up at the end of the year, so I'd really like to make a really good impression in that, because even if it doesn't happen kind of at the end of this year, like going into next year, I think it would be really good if people kind of had more idea about who I was and what I was bringing.
Okay, so let's fast forward to that review session.
Yeah.
And you've had your review session with your boss and you're coming away from that meeting. How will you know you've been successful?
I think I'll know when my boss is aware, really aware of, you know, the things that I've been working on. You know, we kind of, yeah, she kind of knows from our one-to-ones, but I really want her to be excited about the stuff that I'm working on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the review session is happening towards the end of the year and you'll know that you've got the positive feedback that you're looking for because you've demonstrated that greater level of visibility. Okay, so, you know, what would you do in the shorter term to take that step forward to prepare for that review session?
Yeah, so I think it's really about me making myself heard in meetings, particularly
Okay.
bigger meetings.
Okay, so getting yourself heard at some of the bigger meetings. Okay, so what timescale do you have coming up to make that happen?
I'd really like to make progress on this between now and the end of the year.
Okay, okay. So by the end of this year, you'll be looking to have contributed in some meetings and feeling like that's going to have that step forward career-wise to help that progression for you.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so you might want to write that down
Okay.
as your goal that you're working towards over the coming weeks.
Okay.
And perhaps say it back to me so you can articulate it clearly.
Okay, so my goal is to unmute and make myself heard in meetings. Okay.
Yeah, okay. And you've got the date down there as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Okay. So where are you now in relation to that goal that we're working towards?
So when I'm in a smaller group of people, especially my sort of peers, I'm okay to come off mute and to contribute. Where I get stuck is when it's in bigger meetings with lots of senior people and I find it really hard to interrupt and to make points, or sometimes I feel that I've got something that I want to say but then the conversation's moved on and I don't want to interrupt again and bring
Okay.
it back.
So what stops you from feeling like you can interrupt?
I think just I don't want to seem rude. I just don't want to seem rude. I think that's what it is.
And who makes you feel like that may be rude?
I think it's me. I think it's just me just kind of worrying that what I have to say isn't as important as what other people have to say.
Okay, okay. So you want to make an important contribution in the meetings.
Exactly.
So you've talked a lot about how this is related to you being on Zoom and being online. What have you done in the past when you've been in a meeting environment?
Yeah, so in the past, when we were in person, I would make eye contact with people around the room. And when I wanted to say something, I just put my hand up. And I found it that much easier. For some reason on Zoom, I find it's a bit of a block for me.
Okay. So when in the past you felt that you can contribute, what has been the benefit to you and your career and your progression in you doing that?
Well, yeah, because then people know who I am and they know, and also then people know what I'm working on. And so it's more likely that they will want to kind of collaborate or, you know, show an interest in what I'm doing. So it's been good.
Yeah. Okay. So where you are, so in the past you have been able to speak up in meetings and you've seen the benefit in doing that.
Yeah.
But since the pandemic and being on Zoom, you found that you feel unable to unclick that mute button. But really, we talked a little bit about potentially what's stopping you, and it's your confidence in doing so. Okay. So what would you tell yourself if you were the person that didn't have the confidence? What would you say to yourself?
I'd say just do it. What's the worst that can happen?
Exactly. Okay, that's great. What's the worst that could happen? Okay, so let's start to explore some options of what you could do to make that happen this time, moving forward. So what could you do?
I think one thing that I could do, and I've probably got a bit lazy, is making sure that I'm really prepared for meetings and have thought ahead of time about what the agenda is and what the points are that I want to make, and to give myself that time, so that I know before I go into the meeting what it is that I have to bring or that I want to say.
So what does being prepared mean then? What could you actually do to be prepared?
I think it probably just is a case of, you know, the night before looking ahead at what's coming up the next day and thinking, okay, what is it that is going to be discussed and what maybe are kind of one or two key points that I want to bring.
Yeah, okay. So there's planning ahead for your meetings, looking ahead to see what meetings you have and how you might be able to contribute.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What else could you do?
I think in terms of, I said just do it. I think just finding a way that I can sort of interrupt without feeling that I'm being rude.
Okay, so what ideas does that help you think of?
So I guess like in real life, I would have just put my hand up, and I guess when I do see people still doing that, they just kind of put their hand up, or using the, you know, like the emoji on Zoom. I could use that to interrupt, to make it clear that I want to say something.
Okay, so you can prepare yourself for your meetings so that you feel you know what's coming up, you know where those opportunities could be for you to contribute. And in the meeting, there's the opportunity for you to physically raise your hand, use the emoji button. Okay, so what else does that make you think of?
I think it makes me think about that confidence when it actually comes to that moment of saying, I've got something to say. And I think one thing that might help me feel more confident is to prepare myself for the working day. So as well as prepare what I want to say in the meetings, but just to kind of feel like I'm at work, not like I'm at home in my tracksuit bottoms.
What does being prepared for the workday mean to you?
So again, like going back to when we were in real life, I would have got up and got dressed and got ready for my work day. Whereas these days I've got a bit lazy, if I'm honest. You know, I kind of, you know, pull on my trackies and be kind of rushing into the meeting 5 minutes before it starts. And that makes me kind of feel flustered, and then I feel a bit embarrassed, and so then that makes me not want to say anything.
Okay, so there's something there potentially about getting yourself feeling more physically prepared for the meetings and for your work day.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit in the past about your boss, and I know that you aspire and are, you know, inspired by what she's achieved. If you were to ask her what could you do, what would she suggest?
She would suggest that I share my ideas with her like ahead of time, especially for an important meeting, so that she knows if there's something relevant, so that she can kind of bring me in and say, oh, you know, Maria can talk about this. Okay. So potentially she would almost introduce you and give you the opportunity to speak then in that meeting. Exactly.
Okay. And if you imagine yourself on a Zoom meeting, you've got all those faces in front of you, what do your colleagues do that you could do?
Do you know what? One of my colleagues is really good at kind of echoing and supporting what other people say.
Okay.
And I really like that because it means that then it's not kind of all about him, that he's really good at being a team player.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think I could probably do more of that.
Okay, so rather than your own original thoughts, it's about just contributing to the conversation
Yeah.
and actually supporting what your colleagues are saying. Okay,
Exactly.
so we've come up with some great options for you there. We've talked about getting yourself prepared for the meeting, so prepared physically, so you feel the part, that you look the part. You've talked a little bit about preparing so you know what meetings are coming up and where that opportunity could be for you to speak. You talked about how your boss may be able to support you and introduce you into the conversation. You talked about how you could support your colleagues and in what they're saying and perhaps interject that way. We talked about the physical process of putting up your hand or your little emoji button to say, I'm here and I'd like to contribute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so loads of great options there. Which one is the one that speaks to you as the one that you will take forward?
I think it's about the preparation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
So I think it's about two things actually. I think it's one about preparing the night before for what's coming up. And then secondly about getting up early, getting ready for the day so that I feel good about myself and I feel confident so that when I go into the meeting, I don't kind of feel awkward or embarrassed or unable to speak. I think it's that preparation. I think I need to get my discipline back.
Okay. So what will you do to get that discipline back?
Yeah, so again, I used to be really good at this. So at the end of the working day, before I kind of switch off, just giving myself like 30 minutes to an hour to look ahead and reflect and plan on what's coming up. And then the second thing is I've been snoozing my alarm, but I know when I get up at 6, get up, get going, get dressed, then that will make me feel kind of ready and set for the day.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple of things there. So talking about preparing at the end of the working day for the next day and talking about preparing yourself to get up a little bit earlier.
Right.
So let's start with the first one about preparing yourself for the day.
Yeah.
When will you do that?
Well, it's Friday tomorrow, so I don't know if I'm going to start tomorrow, but definitely next week, Monday, new week, I will
Okay.
definitely do that. I'll make that commitment from Monday that I will get up at 6 and get myself ready.
Okay. So what do you need to do on Sunday to ensure that you get up at 6 o'clock on Monday?
Go to bed early,
Okay.
set the alarm,
Yeah.
get my clothes out. I'm good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what could stop you from making that happen?
If I start watching Netflix on Sunday night or I'm on my phone and then I don't go to bed early enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
What can you do to make sure that you are able to have that early night and you're not caught up on Netflix or your phone?
Yeah, 9 o'clock, switch off, go to bed.
Okay. Okay. So 9 o'clock, switch off the phone, turn off Netflix. You're prepared for the next day and you go to bed. So you're up at 6 in the morning and you have your working day.
Yeah.
And when you look forward to the next week, when is the opportunity for you to contribute in a meeting?
We've got a really big meeting coming up on Tuesday, actually.
Okay, Tuesday. So what will you do to get that preparation for that session there?
Yeah, so actually I could do that tonight. I could, look ahead to that meeting on Tuesday and really, just think ahead and plan out some points that I want to make.
Okay, brilliant. So you're going to plan out the points you're going to make at the meeting on Tuesday and you will have got up early on Monday, feeling prepared and ready for the day ahead.
Yeah.
So how will you feel when you leave that meeting on Tuesday having contributed to that meeting?
I'll feel amazing.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
Great.
Yeah.
And what, so you'll feel amazing.
Yeah.
And what will the other benefits be for you?
Well, I think my boss is going to be really pleased because I'll be really showing up.
Yeah.
And really, really contributing. And I've been saying that I know that I need to do more of it, but I will actually be doing it. So that will be a huge benefit. And I think that will put me in a good position then when we come to do the end of year review, that I am, really making an effort to be more visible.
Fantastic. So good luck on Tuesday.
Thank you.
And I cannot wait to hear how you get on when we get together at our next session.
Thanks, Rachel.
You're very welcome.
The coaching session that you just saw was based on a real client who had gone back to work after maternity leave and returned during the pandemic and really struggled with her confidence. But I'm pleased to say that as a result of the coaching, she realised that she had amazing skills and abilities and amazing contributions to bring to her workplace. And as a result of working on her confidence, she did succeed in increasing her visibility. And 6 months after that session, she did get her promotion. That was based on one client, but actually lots of clients have experienced similar challenges during the pandemic in making the transition from in-person work to online work, and coaching has certainly really supported them in growing their confidence so that they have been able to perform at their very best despite the challenges of the pandemic.